I turned 28! Yesterday was my birthday! I don't normally buy books, but yesterday, because it was my birthday, I decided to treat myself to a little trip to Barnes & Noble. If you've seen this video, you know that I don't like to buy books, especially if I haven't read them before. But because it was my birthday, I decided to treat myself. My current TBR list is 150 books. That's not my physical, it's just my books I want to read. Let me get the exact number. I use Storygraph. If you don't use Storygraph, use it. Oh, it's not 150, it's only 138. 138 books on my TBR right now. So I wanted to grab some that I knew I absolutely wanted to read, and I thought having a physical copy would be the best. And also, like, who doesn't love a good bookstore perusal? When I got there, I was immediately drawn to Babel. Everyone has been talking about it, and I was so excited to grab it. I literally carried it around the store, but then I remembered that the HarperCollins workers are on strike right now, so I put it back, and we'll get it another time once HarperCollins decides to talk to the union. But I did grab 3 books. 3? Yes, 3. And one was a surprise. The first one is The Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne. I've seen a lot of people talk about it and recommend it, especially for like fantasy lovers. It seems kind of like a hefty book, and I don't love to read fantasy books that are longer on my like phone. That's what I use as my e-reader. So I decided to pick it up. People rave about it. I'm excited to get into it. And then the next one I got is The Night and Its Moon by Piper CJ. I follow her on TikTok. She has a master's in folklore, and it's just so interesting. So I bought it mainly to support her. Actually, I'm not even sure what the plus about. I just know that I appreciate the way she tells stories on TikTok, so I think that I will enjoy this as well. Then I really wanted to buy A Psalm for the Wild-Built because I saw so many people talking about it in their 2022 wrap-ups, that it was one of their favorites, and I just knew that I would want to have a physical copy. That was one of the books I wanted to get when I got there, so I was carrying these 2 around, and I asked an employee if they had it. She said no, but that based off of what I was carrying, she would recommended this book, The Stardust Thief by Chelsea Abdullah. I have never heard of this book. I haven't seen it on anyone's TBRs or currently readings, any reviews at all. So I was a little skeptical, but I'm a sucker for a book recommendation, and especially when it seems personalized like that. So I easily picked it up, just so excited. But then I realized that like this is Barnes & Noble's like book of the month or something like that. And part of me feels like, I don't know, I wonder if it was she gets a commission based off of how much it sells, or if she just genuinely loved it, I don't know. But I hope that I didn't get upsold by buying it. She wasn't the person who checked me out, so I don't think I did. Either way, I'm really excited to read it, and I will let you know how it is. One of the cool things about being a January baby, especially being born, my birthday was January 5th, is that the new year and my new like age align pretty much spot on. So as I set New Year's goals and reflect on the past year, it really is like the last year I lived. So this is like an overall reflection / goals I want to set. Oh, another thing I did is I signed up for Book of the Month, which I've never done something like that before, but I thought it'd be a really cute way to like treat myself each month to a current read versus just always playing catch up. And we'll be hopefully moving into an apartment in March, so I'll be able to have a physical address to send it to, and you can pause it whenever you want, which is a plus. So my 2023 goals, they feel pretty outlandish. I have writing goals and I have reading goals, so we're gonna start with the reading. First, I want to read 200 books this year. That number sounds insane, which it is, but this past year in 2022, I read 76 books, and that was without trying to read them in any intention at all. And there were so many months where I just read 2 books or even like 1 that I could have been reading and should have been reading more, but I was just distracted and not doing what I loved. So I think if I really lean into it this year, I could get 200 books. I'm not gonna try to force it or rush it, but that feels realistic for me, even though it's a really big, scary number. My writing goal is that I want to start the process of getting traditionally published with my book this year. I had been mulling around a story, really starting in the summer, and then National Novel Writing Month came up where you tried to write 50,000 words in 1 month, decided to give it a go. I was post-marathon, I had a lot more time and wanted to give the story a shot. I did, and I fell in love with the characters, the story, and mid-December I finished up the first draft. I took a couple weeks break and I'm revisiting it now, beefing up the narrative, fixing plot holes, making the characters more developed. Basically, as the story progressed, I need to make sure it all is cohesive. And I was really scared to go back and read it and look at the manuscript. I thought for sure it would just be full of plot holes and poorly written and just not what I was hoping. And I was super pleasantly surprised. I started going back through it this week and I still love it. There are so many times where I'm reading through it and I have to remind myself to like stop and pay attention and not just get lost in the story. That was a really unexpected joy. I've been practicing this pitch. This is my first time like actually giving it. I told Anthony the plot of the novel, basically a play-by-play because I'm still working on it, last night. And that was the first time I've talked about it publicly. I'm normally a pretty private person when it comes to this, so bear with me. This will change, I'm sure, but this is go one of the synopsis. I'm gonna read it because there's no way I have this memorized yet. The book is about a girl named Luexa who is the third child of the powerful Blood Kingdom. They can control the blood of others but are sworn advocates of peace. Luexa's kingdom is violently taken over, forcing her to flee to the nearby Shadow Kingdom. There she is forced to choose between becoming a monster to save her people or shoving down her power like she was taught, all while navigating grief and the vague line between platonic and romantic love. Obviously there's a love story, but it does take place where there are 4 different kingdoms: the Blood Kingdom, the Shadow Kingdom, the Spirit Kingdom, and the Light Kingdom, and they all get fleshed out in their own ways. So we're working on that right now. I'm excited. With that, I want to get into a reading update since I am trying to get to 200 books this year. What I've read this week. I started Kiss of Deception by Mary Pearson. I was not expecting it to be this good. I feel like people aren't really talking about it. Her book Dance of Thieves blew up this past year on Book Talk, but that's a spin-off based off of this original series. The world building is incredible. Like, she does languages. I feel like people don't normally do that super well. I don't know. I was excited. But not only is the world building really good, her characters are so personable and funny and relatable. I feel like with some other of the more world building heavy books, the characters are feel a little more removed or a little more aloof in it. And hers, like, I love them so much already. This isn't a spoiler, but there's a twist in the middle. What? If you've read it, you know what I'm talking about. I literally had to go on Goodreads and like look at other people's reviews to make sure I wasn't the only one who was blindsided by this. I've never had an author do something like that to me, and I am so thoroughly impressed. If you know, you know. You can comment below, but make sure you tag the spoiler. And this is the first book. I'm so excited to read the rest of them and continue on with these characters. I haven't finished it yet. Obviously, I'm like 80% of the way through right now, but it gives me very much like Throne of Glass vibes. So if you like that book, I think you'll really like these. I listened to the book I'm Glad My Mom Died. Finally, I had it on hold forever from Libby. The audio version became available. I listened to it in one sitting. It's 6 hours long. I listened on 1.5 times speed, and I could not stop. It was so well written. I am team audiobook for memoirs read by the author for life. It brings such a new life to it. There's one point where her voice cracks and she starts crying, and I started crying. Team audiobook for memoirs for life. The book was strangely triggering in ways that I didn't expect, especially if you have had experience around eating disorders before. It was very vivid. There's a lot of things that could be triggering there. Check the trigger warnings. Storygraph, again, provides trigger warnings, so you can go there. I will be surprised if this doesn't make my top 10 list for 2023. It was so good. Right now, I'm listening to Sirens and Muses. I'm only on chapter 5, so I'm not super far, but so far, I'm kind of getting like Bunny by Mona Awad vibes. but I don't know if that's just because of the creative arts school setting and like they follow similar university journeys. But so far the characters have just been introduced. We're just now exploring the social dynamics of it. And I am curious to what's gonna happen. I'm enjoying it. Tell me down below in the comments what books you're enjoying this year, if there are things that, what your goals are, if you've read any of the books that I've read or want to read or currently reading. Share it all below and I'll see you there.